20x Gigas, and today I'm making a tier list based on which characters I believe are honest to dishonest in Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. Time to get to it. Before I do, I should let you know that the term honest in fighting game doesn't relate to morality, instead of how balanced or how fair a character is. So, for starts, I'm going to say El Tigre or Manny Rivera. I think he's the most honest character in the game, hands down. The thing is, I don't know who said this, but it's kill or be killed with this character. There is no in between. He has a lot of great strengths, but his weaknesses are balanced. And yeah, if you play this character, right, I feel like I recommend if you haven't played, I think you should play this character. This will encourage you to teach you how to really play the game. All right. Next character on the list, SpongeBob. I think SpongeBob is pretty honest. Now, don't get me wrong, his down tilt is a absolute war crime. However, generally speaking, I say SpongeBob is fairly honest because there is commitment, and his side special it does help with certain matchups. It also helps him with closing gaps. I would deem him as pretty honest. Next on the list, Azula. I think. Let me just do them here. I think Azula is very honest. This may sound controversial, but just hear me out here. She is a top tier, all right? At least in my eyes, I think Azula is very top tier. You know, she's good aerials, good mobility, she's a projectile game, recovery is pretty good. But the thing is, because her kit is so simple and basic, you have to really outplay your opponent at the higher levels. I think she's pretty popular and competitive. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think she's I think she's fairly honest. Her brother, hmm. Yeah, you know what? I think Zuko. I think her brother's honest, which is canon to his character. Now, don't get me wrong. The sword's kind of BS, but Azula has good tools and fairly simple. Zuko has to work much harder. He does, like I said, have some nonsense, but I would say overall, you you gotta have fundamentals. You don't just pick up Zuko. You have to have a strong understanding of the game to play him. All right, Raphael. I think he's I think he's honorable, right? The thing about Raphael is that, first of all, I'm really sorry for Raph mains. I think he's trash, right? Have I been beaten by Raphael? Yes, but his moveset in my eyes is complete trash. But when I was playing this character, like I had to work really hard on really utilizing his stuff. Like again, like other honest characters, you gotta have fundamentals in the game. You can't just rely on stuff. Patrick, even though he is deemed as the worst character in the first and second game, I think he's honorable. I don't necessarily call him honest because I mean his up special, as bad as it is, it's a grab, and his down special like a I understand that's his moveset, but I'm not gonna say act like you Patrick players earned your uh off stage down B kill, or should I say side special. He's a counter though. I just think he's still gimmicky, even though he's honorable. April, Miss O'Neill. I think she's pretty honorable too. Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of Aprils, or the ones I've seen, maybe will just have like a camera simulator, but most of the time they're they're gonna be using Nair. But like her stuff, like I think as you April mains, you have a good understanding, if not a great understanding of the game, and like I think she's pretty honorable. She didn't have too much nonsense. And with her, what I think her neutral B with the camera, like I don't really see April's really use her main gimmick. She just at a core is fair, a fair character. Aang, I think he's honorable as well. Now, don't get me wrong, he's floaty and his air scooter is kind of annoying, but it's just mobility. Because the thing is, as floaty as Aang's stuff, his aerials, they're not like these big moves, you know? You do gotta space them. Like, I mean, his attacks have range, but they're not necessarily spammable. And plus, he is light, so I think he's a pretty honest character. Korra, yeah, I think she's honorable as well. Um, so the thing about with Korra is that again, she is I think another deserved top tier, and I think the developer did a really great, if not excellent, job with her moveset because as strong as she is, if you don't know how to use her tools, you're kind of cooked here. So what makes her honorable is that look, she has that rock move. Um, I mean, her up special is difficult. Like, not only does it recover high, but it's also difficult to edge guard. Like, come on, it is kind of whack. And her down special, the little blade thing, it's kind of whack. But I still think she's pretty honorable. Gerald, yeah, I'm sorry. Hate doing this to my brothers, but I think he's pretty dishonest. I think he's dishonorable. But like, cause the thing of Gerald is that it's kind of like a projectile simulator. The thing is, though, he does kind of have to. I say approach loosely after because his attacks don't have really big thing. There is some commitment, but I can't say that he's a very honorable character. At the very least, he's low honorable, if not starting dishonorable. Reptar, I was gonna put him at honorable, but the truth is, he's also kind of dishonorable. I mean, come on, he's the Bowser equivalent. Look, what I will say is that he does need it. His down special, it being armor, being anti mash, even with edge guards, like he needs it. His attacks are first of all are very powerful, very potent. He has these big hitboxes, and most importantly, his offense is rewarded. I think with the more hits he gets when he uses fire attacks, he regains it and replenishes it. So he does need it, but I still think he's fairly dishonest, if not dishonorable. Ren and Stimpy, even though I really hate fighting this character, I think they're more honorable than Reptar. Listen, listen, listen. His grounded down strong, complete war crime. Back air, ridiculous. But even with all the disjoints, he really isn't that great of a character. With even trash recovery, like I can't just be like y'all won this because you know I can't really call them necessarily completely carried. That it sort of balances out. Jenny, I think I I think she's dishonorable too. We're like Gerald, where she's closer to being honorable because okay, her her aerial neutral strong, ridiculous. She got a projectile. She has two. She has the rocket fish. She has the hammer, and her backer being a war crime. And then of course her grab. Right, unlike other characters, she has an extendo. She has a she has stretchy arms. That's what it is. Her stretchy arms. Like, come on now, that's ridiculous. I'm not gonna say or act like she isn't a difficult character to play and that you don't need fundamentals, but she kind of has a cheat. She's kind of gimmicky. I think that's fair to call her dishonorable. Gertie, I think she's yeah. I think Gertie's pretty dishonorable. I'm sorry. Listen, I I like heavies. I think Garrett's a heavy, but her down special gimmick. She has good aerials. She has weaknesses though, like her recovery. Like I said, that hook is trash, but she does have good horizontal recovery to kind of help her out with that. But I'm sorry, it is way too easy to hit your opponent with that knee. Like, I'm sorry, Gertie Baines. I can't call this grandma remotely honorable. She is dishonorable. Rocksteady, sorry, bro, you're dishonorable. Don't get me wrong here. I don't think he's. I think I'm gonna put him over. You know, I think they're in the same area. Actually, we'll leave there. But I think Rocksteady is also trash. So Patrick is trash. Rocksteady's there too. However, I I can see, especially the ones I face, Rocksteady. You do put in the work. Like I would say, generally you earned your KOs, and he could be a lot better, if not more honorable, if he wasn't designed so poorly. Rocco, I think he's dishonorable. Um, I should play him a little bit, but like Spunky and the jackhammer, it is such an annoying attack to deal with. Or his freaking vacuum, like, eh, nah, Rocco, you're dishonorable. You are definitely dishonorable. Nigel, yeah, he's dishonorable too. I'm sorry. Don't get me wrong, Nigel Maines. I salute you. I also think he's very bad, but he's more or less the equivalent, the Jigglypuff equivalent, and I can't, in good faith, call him honorable. I don't think he's honorable. I see you put out the you have to put the work in, but nah, his whole gimmick is aerial movement. Like, come on now. Even he's a big like no. Donatello, yeah, you're dishonorable. I'm Donnie, you're dishonorable, my boy. Listen, um, don't get me wrong. I like I said, I don't I don't disrespect or think low of Donnie Mains because, like I said, I respect you, but I can't really call him honorable either. You know what I mean? He has the range, like his staff attacks are ridiculous. He does have weaknesses, but I don't know if I could call him honorable. Maybe, hmm, I might put him. I don't know, but for right now, I think he's pretty dishonorable. Iroh, yeah, go ahead. We're gonna have to put him in dishonest. I'm sorry. Listen, Iroh Mains, especially when in his first release. Don't get me wrong, he is a difficult character to play. Right now, the core of Iroh's gameplay is getting to team mode. All right, down special, you want to get the team mode, but you really have to understand Iroh as a character before you even understand the team mode or get to team mode. But that aside, even though he is difficult, especially without T, his down strong, even though he needs it, doesn't make it any less ridiculous. Also, his aerial up strong and his aerial down strong. Come on, like the devs in this game, I think they did a pretty good job with Iroh, but the problem with a lot of I think the balancing aspect of this game is that they compensate characters' weaknesses. Now, I'm not saying that like all characters need to really have like just a bland weakness or they don't need compensation, but like with how they designed Iroh. Now, even though El Tigre and Iroh are very different, El Tigre he doesn't really have any compensation at his disposal, right? Iroh he is combo food, right? So a good El Tigre like he does suffer down rush down characters, but then he also has a counter, and then he also has these attacks that prevent him from being rushed down. And then in the team mode, you can cancel that. So he's pretty dishonest. Squidward, yep. Dishonest. Sorry, Squid remains. I cannot deny that he's a very difficult character to pilot, especially, in neutral. But to sit here that and think that you earned your KOs with nair, fair, grab, up throw, and not to mention Squidward's aerial up strong. It is ridiculous, and that's why his up special has surprisingly a lot of priority. I mean, you can punish it, but that doesn't make your character any less dishonest. All right, you're dishonest. Mr. Tortellini is dishonest. Mr. Krabs, no shocker, he's dishonest too. Yep. Eugene, now I will admit that his moveset, like I said, he's trash when he doesn't have any money. But since a core of Mr. Krabs' gameplay is centered around getting money, he's dishonest. And once he reaches red mode, even though I say relatively deserved because, like I said, he's a really difficult character to play when he doesn't have his money. But once he's reached his red mode, it's like any sort of sympathy that you have just goes out the window because his side special is a war crime. It's a war crime. Garfield, dishonest. Nope. There's not even discussion here. So even though Garfield is light, um, he's also small, right? And I like to compare Garfield and El Tigre because they're the top tier cat characters, but the difference is that Garfield has attacks that give him more range, right? He also has a projectile, and his down special, Sugar Rush, all like I said, it compensates that. So even though he's small and light, even though he's light, I should say, he's small. This makes his KO moves more potent and also harder to hit because he makes him fasten too. So yeah, he's dishonest. Jimmy, Mr. James Isaac Neutron, dishonest. I'm sorry, she's dishonest. Um, she's more or less the Mega Man of this game. Even has a robotic canine, but yeah, as technical as you may be, you're still dishonest. Spending your whole game really fishing for the forward tilt. Like, I'm sorry, he's still dishonest. Lucy, yeah, you're dishonest too. You're dishonest too because, like I said, she's small, and the ghost mode specifically makes her light. But ghost mode and her side special. Nah, sorry, Lucy Mains. This little Lolita, she's dishonest. Amber McLean, dishonest. Yup. And I will remember because I mean her mechanic, like I said, I think she's pretty fair, but she has, large hitboxes, lingering moves, but her down special is such a gimmick in itself. And yes, I have before you start saying skills, like I said, I can respect your craft, and even though I can still deem your character as disrespectful, dishonorable. Her down special, if you time it and space it correctly, you can stun somebody and they fall to their death. All right, dishonest. Danny Phantom, yeah, he's dishonest. I used to play him. I love him as a character. What do you behold? The two Danny Phantom characters are dishonest. Danny's dishonest too, because even though he's a lightweight, his attacks are so deceptive. That's what it is. I'm trying to understand or gauge his stuff, but his attacks are so deceptive. He's a very dishonest character. Plankton, yeah, you dishonest too. You dishonest too. Lo and behold, the two SpongeBob characters are dishonest. But the thing is, I'm gonna give him a little bit of a pass here, is because um it's because he's a heavy, right? I'm sorry. He's still dishonest though, but because he's a heavy, it mostly balances out. Angry Beavers, yeah, they're dishonest too. Daggett and Norbert, war criminals. I mean, the weird thing is that Daggett, first of all, I mean, he's smaller. His things aren't as big, but he's a rush down. He has really good rush downs. But his attacks have huge hitboxes. Like what? And then his up special is difficult to punish. And then don't get me started on Norbert. Norbert, I mean, he is the opposite of Daggett's weaknesses, where he's slower, but he has more range, and I think he hits hard. I think he has KOs, but especially with the assist, yeah, Edgar Beavers, you dishonest. And now my main, I have to say this, as much as I love Zim, I think he is the most dishonest character in the entire game. Like, going back to what I said, where I think the devs spend too much time compensating stuff. First of all, I mean, the first game, Zim was annoying, but like, in this game, he did have a glow up, but the devs did a really good job making his character and his gameplay very accurate, because he is the most frustrating character to play against. I genuinely feel bad, and I completely respect players who rage quit against Zim, because he is so frustrating to play. Now, don't get me wrong, Zim's weakness is that he is susceptible to rush down. The moment he is combo food, he's light, so the moment we have him in his air, he has very little options to have like a throw out panic attack to get him off. However, that changes when you bring up attacks like his up strong, both his ground and aerial, his aerial down strong, and then his down special, his neutral special, and of course Gur as a character. So anytime you're trying to approach them, you have to deal with Gur, who is Luma on crack. He is the most dishonest character in the game. But this is my tier list. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you all in the next YouTube video. Geek out.